For 4 years, executive orders kept flowing, policies kept changing, documents kept getting signed. But here's the question nobody wanted to ask. Who was actually holding pen? Well, now we have our answer, and it's worse than you imagine. A top White House insider just took the fifth rather than tell Congress the truth. First, we have Joe Biden's doctor pleading the fifth, and now we have another. Now, the signature on our laws? Well, maybe not who you think. The decisions affecting your life made by people you never elected. This is not about Joe Biden's cognitive decline anymore. This is about a shadow government operating in plain sight. They thought they could run out the clock. Well, they thought wrong. The depositions are happening. The truth is spilling out. And what we are learning should terrify every American who still believes in our great republic. So stay tuned. This is huge. And while unelected officials were secretly running our government, they hoped that you would stay distracted. But freedom isn't just one generation from extinction. It's one education away. And that's why the Tuttle twins, they created the most effective Liberty First content for kids. This is their monthly magazine. Teaches children about economics, liberty, and responsibility through comics, activities, and real-world lessons. When shadow governments operate, informed citizens are the antidote. So right now, subscribe a loved one, a granddaughter, a grandson, a niece, a nephew, your kids, for just $56 a year. A gift that will show up in their mailbox every single month, planting seeds of liberty. TuttleTwins.com/next. Don't let your child be indoctrinated while our republic gets hijacked. Teach them to recognize tyranny, value freedom, and think for themselves. Because the Autopen scandal proves that an educated populace is our only defense. TuttleTwins.com/next, linked below. All right, so the Autopen scandal is top of mind over here at the Next News Network. Remember, KJP used to say that while she was running cover for the Biden administration? Well, one of those individuals who was a recipient of a Autopen pardon, Dr. Fauci, has just been referred to the DOJ. And then this is the tactic. This is what needs to be done. As you heard, we played a clip the other day of Roger Stone saying we need to indict these people so we can test the power of the Autopen, if it actually holds any executive authority, if the president wasn't fully aware of what he was supposedly signing. So with Rand Paul stepping up and referring Fauci to the DOJ for the third time, could be the final domino to fall to test this entire theory. Now, I know you want to see Dr. Fauci in prison. I do too. After what happened in 2020 with the pandemic and the Wuhan lab, yeah, the lockdowns. I mean, I don't need to go ahead and rehash what we all lived through. Okay? That was medical tyranny. Clearly. Dr. Fauci was at the center of it all. And now Rand Paul, God bless him, has referred him to the DOJ. Let's listen.
Among Biden's pardons, top White House COVID-era spokesperson, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul now officially is referring Fauci to the Justice Department for a third time. He says, and this is a quote, if the president didn't authorize this pardon personally, then the department has a duty to investigate and prosecute as it would any ordinary citizen. You weren't kidding when you said this had more.
Yeah, no, look, this is what happens when you have a president that did this or didn't do it. And again, these were for crimes. By the way, it's also important to point out, these were for crimes that weren't even, considered. Like, that's the unusual nature of what he did. Take out the fact that he probably didn't know what he was doing, and the Autopen signed it. President Autopen signed it, not Joe Biden. So, like, you just add this on top, you heap it one thing on the other. And I think that Senator Paul's right. I actually took Rand Paul's deposition when I was Attorney General in Missouri. in the censorship case, Missouri versus Biden. My book, Last Line of Defense, outlines what happened in that deposition. Anthony Fauci should be very concerned about this. He lied to the American people about COVID. He lied about the transmissibility of the virus if you got the shot. There's a lot of liability out there for Anthony Fauci, and he probably lied to Congress. And so this could be something that the Justice Department should look at.
Okay.
Well, and Rand Paul has clearly shown multiple times, and he's even given Fauci a chance to recant his statements or correct them. Fauci refused. So here we have this Paul White Gold Eagle. Lock her up. Treason. Meet Anita Dunn. She's a communist lunatic. She worked with Obama and the Biden administration. Her husband, Robert Bauer, was partner at Perkins Coie and Obama White House counsel. Anita was an Autopen gatekeeper. It explains the Biden administration, why the Biden administration went full commie. Anita Dunn, everyone.
That I turned to. And then the third lesson and tip actually come from two of my favorite political philosophers, Mao Zedong and Mother Teresa, not often coupled with each other. But the two people that I turn to most to basically deliver a simple point, which is you're going to make choices. You're going to challenge. You're going to say, why not? You're going to figure out how to do things that have never been done before. But here's the deal. These are your choices. They are no one else's. In 1947, when Mao Zedong was being challenged within his own party on his plan to basically take China over, Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalist Chinese held the cities. They had the army. They had the Air Force. They had everything on their side. And people said, how can you win? How can you do this? How can you do this? Against all of the odds against you. And Mao Zedong said, you fight your war and I'll fight mine.
Oh, is it that simple? Did Mao Zedong have an Autopen too? Here we have Congressman Byron Donalds. This morning I attended the deposition of Anthony Bernal, Jill Biden, work husband. These are the takeaways. He says, couldn't answer a single question, refused to read his own statement. This is corruption at the highest level. Joe was not in charge of his own administration. Every order, bill, and memo is null and void. The Democrats can't hide from this. We must subpoena all Biden staff. Dr. Biden must be called to testify. Kamala Harris must also be called to testify. Oh, baby. Can you imagine Jill Biden being called to testify? Kamala Harris? Oh, man, all of them getting subpoenaed?
They both your leadership on this issue. First things first, that's just crazy. You can't answer a simple question about the former president's ability to discharge his duties, and you worked in the White House as chief of staff to the first lady, and you come in here and you plead fifth. He can say whatever he wants in his testimony, which, by the way, his attorney read. He wouldn't even read his own statement. His attorney read his statement for him. So you came in there and said that him pleading the fifth is not an admission of guilt or anything about what was going on in the Biden White House, or was to give any inkling to the fact that Joe Biden was lacking in capability. The fact that he couldn't make any statement, the fact that the White House doctor couldn't make any statement, and they both pled the fifth, which is their constitutional right to do, and we respect the Constitution like every American does. But the fact that they are now hiding behind the Constitution so that they don't have to tell the truth to the American people about Joe Biden's capabilities and mental faculties while he was president of the United States is not just shocking, it's stunning, and it demonstrates the level of corruption that was going on in that administration. The chairman is being nice. I don't have to be. This is corruption at the highest level. Because if you cannot answer a simple question about Joe Biden's capabilities, then that further demonstrates that he was not in charge of his administration. And if he was not in charge of his administration, then every order, every bill that was signed, every memorandum, as far as I'm concerned, are null and void. And congressional Democrats need to actually step into the light and not hide behind this stuff or run away from it, because everything that administration did, as far as I'm concerned, is unlawful. If he did not have the ability to discharge his duties, then anything that he signed or the Autopen signed or whatever, as far as I'm concerned, is null and void. And where was Kamala Harris? I'm not going to speak for the chairman, I'm going to speak for myself. As far as I'm concerned, every member of the Biden administration at this point needs to be subpoenaed. I don't care if they were a secretary, I don't care if they were a janitor working in there. They all got to come in and answer questions for this committee.
Congressman, does that include Dr. Jill Biden?
Of course. Her right-hand man, listen, Anthony Bernal is the right-hand man. That's her chief of staff. If he came in here and pled the fifth, I'm sorry. Former First Lady, she got to come in here and answer questions. This is not a, listen, that is the president's wife. I have a wife. James has a wife. Obviously, with family members, you want to do everything you can to protect your family. But if you can't answer a basic question to the mental capabilities of President Biden, then as far as I'm concerned, you now have to answer to the American people.
She's a former president, vice president, basically.
I think Kamala Harris needs to come in and tell us what she knew and when she knew it.
Mr. Chairman.
She ran for president, so she should be able to tell us what was going on.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, baby! Bombs are dropping. Here's Representative James Comer just a few hours ago. Anthony Bernal, Jill Biden's chief of staff, just invoked the Fifth Amendment during his congressional deposition. This week, new reporting confirms President Biden's aides took unauthorized executive actions during his presidency amid his cognitive decline. It's no surprise that Anthony Bernal is pleading the Fifth Amendment to shield himself from criminal liability. During his deposition today, Mr. Bernal pleaded the Fifth when asked if any unelected official or family members executed the duties of the president and if Joe Biden ever instructed him to lie about his health. This is a historic scandal, and Americans demand transparency and accountability. We will continue to pursue the truth on their behalf and examine options to get the answers that we need. Here we have the video. Anthony Bernal, Griff Jenkins posting this. Chief of Staff to Dr. Jill Biden refusing to answer questions before heading into the subpoena deposition before GOP oversight where he pled the Fifth Amendment.
Will you answer any questions today, or will you plead the fifth?
We have comply with the
New York Times piece that your former President Biden gave the New York Times?
Autopen scandal grows ever deeper. Top Joe Biden aide Anthony Bernal pled the Fifth. According to Comer's office, Bernal pleaded the Fifth when asked if any unelected official or family members execute the duties of president if Joe Biden ever instructed him to lie about his health. I mean, that's look at that question. If asked if any unelected official or family member executed the duties of the president, unelected official or family member. Oh, I plead the Fifth. Here's the official statement from Comer's statement. House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform Chairman James Comer today issued the following statement after Anthony Bernal, First Lady Jill Biden's chief of staff, pleaded the Fifth. This week, new reporting. Okay, we just read that. That was actually from his post. Here we have more. Oversight Project. Autopen scandal deserves federal investigation for both criminal and constitutional reasons. We deserve to know who the president was the last 4 years, and we deserve accountability. Here is Chanel Rion on One America News.
Crimes that relate to it makes a
interviewing
world of difference.
I'm not sure who they're interviewing here. I don't know.
Two major buckets of reason. The first is there's a lot of criminal.
Oh, okay, so I'm sorry. Chanel Rion is interviewing the Oversight Project, so let's go to the Oversight Project.
It makes a world of difference for two major buckets of reason. The first is there's a lot of criminal activity potentially there. You can't impersonate a federal official. You can't forge his signature. And with the amount of money that was flying around the White House and out of it, because that's basically how they ran the last government, was these $1 trillion spending packages where the White House doled out the money. You have potential for a lot of other crimes that relate to bribery and other things. A lot of people got money that went against the national interest that deserves scrutiny and potential criminal prosecution. And there's a lot of people who could be implicated in that. I see a massive conspiracy to hide the president's decline so that they can continue the White House rolling. The second bucket, perhaps, is even more important. It's a major constitutional issue that for 4 years we were operating in the United States of America out of order with the very basics of the Constitution, in that one person is supposed to be president, and you cannot delegate away presidential authority just because the guy has malfunctioned and the staffers prefer it that way. They chose not to invoke the 25th Amendment, which clearly lays out what they should have done when they knew him to be incapacitated. They did not do that. That is a massive constitutional scandal, and we deserve to know who the president was for 4 years, and we deserve accountability. It makes the world.
Accountability is coming. James Comer on the case, especially if we have these special prosecutors assigned. Who knows where that road will lead? Here we have, this is the Fox News breaking news alert about the aide to the First Lady Jill Biden invoking the Fifth.
Confidential behind closed. He took a similar tack that the doctor, the physician for Joe Biden, took last week. What was interesting about the testimony from last week is that we all thought it was confidential behind closed doors, but in the evening they released the videotape of saying, on advice of my counsel, I'm not going to answer that question. So we'll see whether or not there's a video that's produced from this testimony that probably, I guess you could say, did not happen because he answered no questions. All right, that's from D.C.
So if you have value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is constitutional treason, plain and simple. When Anthony Bernal pleads the Fifth about executing presidential duties, when he won't confirm who signed your laws, when he refuses to say if he lied about Biden's health, we are not talking about staff helping an aging president. We're talking about a coup conducted with an Autopen. Every executive order, every policy directive, every decision that shaped your life for 4 years may have been made by unelected handlers while the president was a puppet. Anita Dunn, the Perkins-Coy connection, the Obama loyalists, they didn't just advise, they ruled. And Congress let it happen. The courts let it happen. The media covered for it. This is why they're terrified of transparency. So here is a question. Do you believe that Biden was actually president for the last 4 years? Let's have a conversation about this in the comments below. And then grab your next news gear and show them that you are done with shadow governments and support exposing the Autopen conspiracy with our exclusive t-shirt. You can see it up there on your screen. If you want to get a closer look at it, grab one for yourself, or maybe you want to support Alligator Alcatraz, or maybe one of your favorite members of the administration, or in our American Badass series. Trigger Liberal today at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.